Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. Our top story tonight, Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. After days of patiently waiting, Americans now have their answers.
11,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine will be up for grabs in less than 7 hours. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr.
After a year of uncertainty, migrants living in camps in Matamoros are not only worried about the pandemic, but also what's going to happen next with their asylum cases.
Both sides say they agree, but still no agreement on another COVID relief package.
Congress did send a temporary funding bill to the president today.
The shooting happening just days after a jury found Derek Chauvin guilty in George Floyd's death.
The much-anticipated vaccine is finally on its way. Shipments of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine expected to begin in just a matter of hours. And Trump's second impeachment trial, the stimulus relief package, and more vaccination sites. That's what's on the table in D.C. this week.
250 students, their families, and Sharyland ISD staff are halfway to being vaccinated tonight. That announcement from Homeland Security came just today. We told you last night that more than 1,000 children are being housed right now at the migrant tent facility in Donna. Now, birthday celebrations were underway for 5-year-old Raiden Gonzalez from San Antonio. A lot of people stopped by to celebrate the little guy, but the two most important people in his life, his mom and his dad, weren't there. Both lost their battle to COVID-19 this year. An emotional day for the family of a fallen McAllen police officer. He was one of 2 officers killed on the job earlier this year.
Today, his family received a special gift.
And welcome back. This Wednesday is Veterans Day, the day we honor those who served our country. Channel 5's Christian Colon takes us inside a Valley Memorial, one of the nation's biggest fuel pipelines forced to shut down after a cyber attack. And tonight, the FBI is investigating. Questions remain about the potential impact on consumers and prices at the pump.
Could we see a visit from President Donald Trump as early as next week? Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. We start with that possible visit from President Trump. Some good news to report tonight for a change. This could be the beginning of the end for the coronavirus pandemic.
And across the state, business owners are preparing for the state's mask mandate to expire. And while the presidential election gets a lot of attention, others, like the city and school races happening now, get less. And another battle of war happening in the Valley. Court cases against the wall continue this week.
President Trump's second impeachment trial is set to begin on Tuesday. But given the number of GOP senators who have already said that they think it's unconstitutional, a conviction seems unlikely. It's been close to a year since our lives were turned upside down due to the pandemic.
This is still an ongoing and active investigation, and we do not have this individual in custody yet.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. Tonight, we're tracking developing news out of Austin. 3 people are dead after a shooting. Colonial Pipeline is back to normal operations and are now delivering millions of gallons of fuel per hour.
We are less than 2 hours away from 2021. And without a doubt, we leave behind a year like no other.
Thanks for staying up late with us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. We start with 3 West Coast states that have announced new travel restrictions.
The battle against COVID-19 continues, and tonight we have a brand new weapon to fight it with. Thanks for being with us tonight. We have a lot of information to get to, so let's start with that breaking development from Johnson & Johnson.
Tonight, much of the valley has power after going days in the dark and freezing cold.
And a bit of similar news this time in Nashville, Tennessee, where the FBI is looking into a bomb explosion right in the middle of downtown.
And to Houston now, where state and local leaders are condemning a mask-off party planned at a nightclub. The event is scheduled on the first day the governor's new order goes into effect. The known coronavirus pandemic is responsible for more than 500,000 deaths. Almost everyone knows somebody impacted, but those who have lost family members are finding it harder to grieve. We start off with the latest video of that Chinese rocket barreling towards Earth. That little blinking dot there you see, it's the debris passing over Japan. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. Officials are still in the dark on where and when the debris will land. Now take a look behind me. That's all the wild weather happening across the country right now. And as you just heard from Andrew, we're getting a piece of it. It's a first. Cameron County is going to start vaccinating inmates. Sheriff Eric Garza tweeting out that press release today. Tonight, the Valley's getting close to 500,000 people fully vaccinated. State numbers show 478,000 residents are protected against COVID-19. No shots were fired, but people inside the El Paso Mall didn't know that when crowds started running towards the exit this weekend. And thanks for staying up late with us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. We're back now with the heartbreaking news that Alex Trebek lost his long battle with cancer.
Alex, I know you've been working this story all day. UTRGV, the Valley, and the sports world all devastated. What more can you tell us?
And as more and more people get vaccinated, some employers may be asking their employees to get the vaccine. 4 hours and more than 30,000 gallons of water used to put out this fiery crash. The 2 men inside died. Investigators now say no one was in the driver's seat. Well, there was no host and no audience, but the 93rd Academy Awards still happening tonight. The Oscars wrapping up just moments ago.
Jessica Wiley joins us with the emotional video of the father of 7 saying his final goodbyes to the people he loved the most.
I love you with all my heart. I love you so much.
And as hard as that is to watch, that's kind of our reality right now. So Charles was laid to rest today, and to help out with the funeral expenses, his family started a GoFundMe page.
And the third time's the charm for President-elect Joe Biden. He's run for president twice, finally winning it today. And it's not just our state capital on high alert. State capitals across the country are bracing for civil unrest. A lot of thunder and lightning out there. But of course, flooding is still one of the biggest threats here. Now to that warning from a local pharmacist, urging people not to share medication with loved ones. That California man's semi needs repairs. He damaged it when he made the courageous move to use his truck to stop a murder suspect. And the cold front, which I love by the way, is a reminder Christmas is drawing near, and all families should be able to eat. And you can help make that happen through the local food bank.
And a lot of people are on edge about their long-term financial security. Channel 5's Alyssa Cole on what you should know. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. Happening right now, that's a live look at Raymond James Stadium from Tampa, Florida, where Super Bowl 55 just got underway. And our team coverage continues with Channel 5's Christian Von Pricing, checking out which shelters are open. Temperatures across the valley in the 30s. I feel like I'm back in the Northeast. Meteorologist Andrew Chung kicks off tonight's coverage. I know you've been crunching the numbers all day. What are we in store for, Andrew? And thank you for staying up late with us. I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. Texans are still in recovery mode even 2 weeks after that devastating winter storm. Pfizer's vaccine now heads to the CDC for a vote that's expected to happen Sunday.
Low early voting turnout and bad weather today could mean less than 3% of the city could determine its future for the next 4 years. And it's been a rough couple of weeks for folks all across Texas. The wild weather wreaking havoc on a lot of homes. And for that, let's get to the man with the answers, meteorologist Andrew Chung. Andrew, give us something to smile about tonight, please. A live look now at the U.S. Capitol. That's where 25,000 National Guardsmen were brought in to help secure D.C. for the inauguration. Now, that day has come and gone, but about 15,000 troops are expected to return home.
I'm Tony Velasquez Jr. Tonight, we pick up with that officer-involved shooting in Elsa.
Near Jakarta, a Boeing passenger plane with 62 people on board lost contact.
The deadline to reach an agreement is midnight tonight. House lawmakers have already signed off on a 2-day resolution to keep the government running. Now it's headed to the Senate. And north of us in Houston, the city's daily vaccination rate tripled today alone. That's in part thanks to the Houston Astros.
Last night we showed you this video of a woman traveling to Texas being arrested after she refused to wear a mask inside a Galveston bank. Well, tonight we're hearing from her, and she says she'd do it again. In developing news, a small plane carrying humanitarian aid crashed in Guatemala. It was a gorgeous day today. I actually went for a bike ride around 7:30 this morning, and the birds were singing. People were shouting at me because I was riding too slow. Let's toss on it over to meteorologist Andrew Chung. Andrew, it's looking like a follow-up for a bike ride tomorrow, or no?
You know, those birds are really mean, Tony. You know,
They
shouting
are.
at you for riding slow on a bike. I mean, wow. But at least the weather's going to be good.
And welcome back. You might not know them by name, but you see their work every day. Our photojournalists are trained to get the perfect video for each story. And more guidance tonight from the CDC on wearing masks, this time in schools. The agency says teachers and students should keep wearing them until the end of the school year.
The Valley's COVID hospitalization rate now above 15% for 7 consecutive days. It's threatening to put more restrictions on businesses. And in Cameron County, bars are being told to close their doors once again.
Now, Monica, I was at the most recent mayoral debate, and one thing that struck me was the policies that each of them focused on, all the different policies. What can you tell us about the candidates?
So that's right, Tony.
1940 Alamo train crash that killed 34 people. It's part of Valley history that one Donna teacher is trying to keep alive. Officials who originally dismissed the claim now say that kind of oversight will never happen again. But some good news tonight. A GoFundMe campaign to help him has raised more than $88,000 so far. Hurricane season is right around the corner, and we can see it this summer. Both you and I covered the hurricane last year, and flooding was a big deal then. Andrew, when I asked Alexa this morning what the temps were, and she said in the 60s, I almost threw her through the window. It's cold and wet outside. How long is this going to stick around? And Andrew's absolutely right. His forecast blows Alexa's away. So thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you right back here tonight at 10.